We're reviewing how to do absolute value equations, but first I want to talk about what exactly does an absolute value mean. So if I have something that says the absolute value of x is 3, remember that the absolute value tells us how far away from 0 something is on the number line, or the distance away from 0 on a number line. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this unknown number, this x, is 3 away from 0 on the number line. So it could be 3, right? X could be 3. But isn't there another number on the number line that is also 3 away from 0? Yeah, absolutely. -3 is also 3 away from 0. So the absolute value of x equals 3 means x could be -3 or it could be +3. And I know a lot of you guys just know the absolute value just changes it from, if it's negative, it changes it positive, and you think that. But I want you to remember absolute value is a distance on the number line. It's a distance away from 0. So absolute value of 2, we're not going to graph that one, but that means we could have +2 or we could have -2. Absolute value of 7 means we could have +7 or we could have -7, because both of those have the same distance away from 0 on the number line. So let's go into equations and how to solve these. So x minus 1 equals 2. So basically the idea here says here's all this stuff inside of the absolute value. And when I calculate all this stuff and then take the absolute value, it equals 2. Which means when I calculate all this stuff, it could equal 2. Or when I calculate all this stuff, it could equal -2, because when I take the absolute value of -2, I get 2, right? So all of this stuff inside the x minus 1, either x minus 1 equals 2 or x minus 1 equals -2. So now all I have to do is solve these, right? So I can add 1 to both sides, add 1, and I get x equals -1. Or I get add 1 to both sides, and I get x equals 3. So either one of those is going to give me 2 on the number line. In fact, you can see that if I plug this in, -1 minus 1 is -2. The absolute value of -2 equals 2. Or if I put in 3 minus 1, that equals 2 as well. So you could graph these if you wanted. You could graph -1. So we have 0. There we go, 0. So we have -1 and 3. So these are our 2 points that would make this true. We're not going to graph all of those ones because it's not really that important for this case. All right, so x plus 3, the absolute value of x plus 3 equals 10. So again, if I covered all of this up and I didn't know what was inside of there, what does it have to equal? Well, it either has to equal +10, right? Or it has to equal -10. Whatever is inside of there has to equal either +10 or -10, so that when I take the absolute value of it, it's going to equal 10. So I have x plus 3 equals -10. I also have x plus 3 equals +10. I can solve that by subtracting 3 from both sides, and I get x equals -13 or x equals 7. So either one of these, if we put them in, would give us the correct answer. So you notice absolute value equations often have 2 correct answers. And if you think about the graph of the absolute value, that would make sense. Because if I put in either one of these values, it's a mirror image, right? Absolute values are a mirror image of each other. So either one of these x values should give me out the same y value. All right. Mathy talk aside, let's go to the next one. So remember, all of this stuff underneath has to either equal -14 or +14. So I'm going to say either x minus 12 equals -14 or x minus 12 equals +14. So we're going to add 12 to both sides, and I get x equals -2 or x equals 26. Either one of those would give me the correct answer. All right, now we're going to go just even a little more complicated. What about something like this? Well, we know, you're like, oh, well, all of this stuff underneath has to equal 5. No, because what about this 3 outside, right? we don't really know what it's supposed to equal. So we've got to isolate the absolute value first before we can solve this at all. We need that absolute value all by itself, and then we're going to give our two conditions, right? So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We're going to do the absolute value of x minus 2 equals 2. Now I can say all of this stuff underneath here either equals negative 2 or it's going to spit out a positive 2, right? So I have x minus 2 either equals negative 2 or x minus 2 equals positive 2. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I either have x equals 0 or x equals 4. And remember, the best part about equations is we can go back and check them. So we can put 0 in this equation. If I put 0 right here for x, I get negative 2, and the absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2, plus 3 is 5, and 4 minus 2 is positive 2, absolute value of that is still positive 2, plus 3 is still 5. All right, let's do one more. Remember, we have to isolate the absolute value first before we do our two conditions, okay? So we have the absolute value of 2x minus 1 equals 5. Now we take the absolute value, we say this either has to equal negative 5 or it has to equal positive 5, right? So 2x minus 1 has to either equal negative 5 or 2x minus 1 has to equal positive 5. We can solve both of these by adding 1 to both sides, and we get 2x equals 6. Oh, wrong one. Add 1 to both sides, that gives us negative 4. This one gives us 6. So x equals negative 2 or x equals 3. And again, we could go back and check them if we like.